Have you ever been told to just ignore them? That the person tormenting you will eventually get bored and stop? What happens when that person is your own family, and ignoring them just means you become their permanent doormat? For 17 years, I lived in the shadow of my older brother's explosive anger. He broke whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, and never, ever faced consequences. Until one day, he broke something, called me a name, and went back to playing his game. And that was the moment I decided. His reign of terror was over. I was going to give him a consequence he would never forget. And I was going to do it with a smiley face. If you know what it's like to be pushed to your absolute limit, and you live for the moment when the underdog finally fights back with style, you are in the right place. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and get ready for a story of revenge that is as petty as it is profoundly satisfying. To understand this story, you need to understand the dynamics of my house. I'm 17. My brother is 23. And for my entire life, he has been a human tornado of anger. When he gets mad, which is often, he doesn't yell. He doesn't argue. He destroys. He'll punch a wall. He'll throw a chair. He'll smash whatever is in his path. And the worst part? My parents, they just let it happen. They'd sigh, they'd clean up the mess, they'd maybe give him a week that wasn't okay, but there were never any real consequences. He was the golden child who could do no wrong, and I was just the little sister who had to stay out of the way. The powerlessness was a constant, low hum in the background of my life. The incident started like any other. I heard the familiar slam of his door, the heavy angry stomping through the house, and then the crash of the screen door as he stormed onto the porch. I didn't even flinch anymore. It was just background noise. Just my brother being my brother. Later, I went outside to take out the trash. And that's when I saw it. The entire porch, the front steps, our little patch of front yard. It was glittering. Thousands upon thousands of sharp, pinkish-white shards were scattered everywhere, catching the afternoon sun. It looked like a bizarre, angry fairy had exploded. I knelt down and picked up a piece. It was rough and crystalline. It took me a second to realize what it was. His giant Himalayan salt lamp. He'd smashed it to pieces. A sigh escaped my lips. Not of surprise, but of pure, exhausted resignation. Here we go again, I thought. Another mess for someone else to clean up. But this time, something was different. A tiny spark of defiance flickered inside me. No, not this time. I decided to be the bigger person. I would ask him calmly and nicely to clean up his own mess. Maybe he'd see reason. I walked to his room. The door was open. He was slumped in his gaming chair, headset on, completely engrossed in Minecraft. The glow of the screen lit up his smug, unconcerned face. The contrast was staggering. Out front was the physical evidence of his rage, and in here was the peaceful escape he granted himself, consequence-free. I approached him. "Hey," I said, my voice deliberately soft. You kinda broke your salt lamp everywhere outside. Could you please clean it up?" He didn't even look away from the screen. His character kept mining away. "I'm busy. I'll do it later." The dismissiveness. The sheer audacity. The spark inside me grew hotter. "You should probably do it now," I said, my voice tightening just a fraction. "Before it gets tracked everywhere or the dog steps on it." That's when he did it. He finally paused his game, swiveled his chair just enough to look at me, and with a look of utter contempt, he said it. "Piss off, you dipshit." Then he turned back around and put his headset back on. The conversation was over. I was dismissed. I just stood there for a second, the word echoing in my head. Dipshit. After I'd been nothing but calm. After he'd made the mess. The heat of humiliation flooded my cheeks. I turned and walked away, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. I found my mom in the kitchen. "Did you tell him to clean up his mess?" she asked, already sounding weary. "I did. He called me a dipshit and said he'd do it later." She just shook her head, not at him, but at the situation. "Well, he said it's just salt. It'll dissolve or something." Just salt. Those two words were the match that lit the fuse. Just salt? Thousands of sharp, glass-like shards all over our property? A hazard? A testament to his unchecked temper? Just salt? The years of swallowed anger, the broken possessions, the fear, the absolute injustice of it all. It all condensed into that one moment. A cold, clear fury washed over me, so intense it made my fingers tingle. My vision sharpened. If it was just salt, then he wouldn't mind it in his bed, would he? The plan formed in my mind instantly, perfectly. My mother left to run an errand. The house was mine. I went outside with a dustpan, a brush, and a plastic bag. The sun was beating down on me as I knelt on the hot concrete, meticulously sweeping up every single piece of his tantrum. Each sharp fragment I picked up was another memory of his unchecked rage. The time he broke my favorite mug. The time he put a hole in the wall next to my head. The countless times I'd been made to feel small and insignificant. It took me an hour. An hour of simmering, focused rage. I stood up, holding a heavy, lumpy bag full of pink salt crystals. My revenge. I marched straight into his room. It smelled like stale energy drinks and unwashed laundry. I went to his bed, unmade and messy, and I untied the bag. And then, I sprinkled it. I didn't just dump it. I artfully scattered it. I made sure the sharp, chunky pieces were nestled deep into the sheets, the pillowcase, the mattress itself. It would be like sleeping on a bed of rocks. But I wasn't done. Oh no. I went back to the kitchen, got the box of table salt, and returned to his room. With the fine grains, I drew a giant, perfect smiley face right in the center of his comforter. Then, I found a notepad and a pen. I wrote a single perfect sentence. I placed the note right on his pillow. It read, "Oh, don't worry, it's just salt, smiley face." I stood back and admired my work. It was beautiful. It was petty. It was a masterpiece of passive-aggressive justice. He was away at our grandma's until Saturday, so I had days to savor the anticipation. The cold fury had been replaced by a giddy, nervous thrill. For the first time in my life, I wasn't powerless. I had fought back. And I'd done it without yelling, without breaking a single thing. I'd used his own words and his own mess as my weapons. The days stretched on. The anticipation was agony. I'd peek into his room, looking at my handiwork, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. And then, a complication. Our cat, apparently also an admirer of my work, decided to contribute. I walked in to find a lovely edition of cat throw up right in the middle of the salt smiley face. It was perfect. It was like the universe itself was endorsing my revenge. Finally, Saturday came. I heard his car pull into the driveway. My blood ran cold and hot at the same time. I listened to his heavy footsteps on the porch, the door opening. He grunted a hello to our parents and trudged straight down the hall to his room. This was it. I held my breath, waiting for the explosion. The scream of rage. The stomping down the hall to confront me. But nothing. Silence. An hour passed. Then another. Had he not seen it? Was he so oblivious he'd just gotten into his crunchy, salty bed? The anxiety was eating me alive. The truth I found out later was far more anticlimactic, and in a way far more fitting. My dad had gone into his room before he got home, seen the bizarre, salty vomit-stained artwork on the bed, and without a word, had simply cleaned it all up. He never said a thing to my brother. My brother came home, exhausted from his trip, and collapsed into his clean, salt-free bed, completely oblivious to the revenge that had been waiting for him. The initial feeling was one of crushing disappointment. All that planning. All that effort. He never even knew. But as the weeks passed, that disappointment faded and was replaced by something else. A quiet understanding. The revenge wasn't for him. It was for me. For that hour I spent in the sun, reclaiming my power. For the catharsis of turning his destruction back on him. For the simple empowering act of finally saying, no more in the only way I could. The nightmares I had of his retaliation eventually faded. Because I realized I didn't need him to know. I knew. And that was enough. Sometimes, the most satisfying revenge isn't about the other person's reaction. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about knowing that you're not the powerless one anymore. That you're strong enough to plan your exit, and brave enough to know that your peace is worth more than any feud. If you've ever had to take matters into your own hands just to feel a sense of control, hit that like button. Let me know in the comments. Was the revenge better because he never found out? And subscribe for more stories of quiet, brilliant rebellion.